right, good evening, folks. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to a Saturday night, October 4th, 2025 is the date, 10:30 p.m. California time here. Latest activity, very latest earthquake here, shows a 3.4 across the Philippines here. And this is actually where I'm going to start at tonight, because I'm starting to think here, with all the elevated movement happening around the Philippines here recently. If you look back the last 7 days here, there's been a number of earthquakes there, including that six-pointer that stirred up, also some along the Philippine Trench. But an area that we don't normally cover too much is the Manila Trench over there, and we do have some earthquake activity showing up on that today. It's not as lengthy as the Philippine Trench, but just as capable of producing a large megaquake here in this area. I believe the maximum magnitude could be up around the 9.2 range. Here's the Manila Trench, as noted here on this map. That obviously some concern, because we do have some activity stirring up on it right now. Average slip rate on this runs about 80 to 100 mm per year. Now, I know it's not showing it on here. There's certain areas that are less, certain areas that may be similar, but the slip rate up here is actually quite high. Let me see if here we go. I found a little reading here. 90 to 100 mm per year at the northwestern tip, and around 60 to 85 mm in the southern portion. So this is actually an extremely high slip rate for a subduction zone. And far as large earthquake activity goes, it can be up to a 9.2. Unfortunately, there has not been any documented historical large earthquake activity out here, which means, that it's possible we could be coming up here to something. The last decent size event was a 7.0 off of the subduction zone back in 2022. Looks like 1934, 7.5 struck that, but remember, a 7.5 is nowhere near what a 9.0 or 9.2 earthquake could do in terms of energy and stress release. So we do have to watch this area specifically, because it is starting to show some movement up here. It looks like there's, towards the northern end where it's the highest accumulated slip rate. That was a 5.0 directly on that subduction zone. So watching that closely. It sticks out there like a sore thumb south of Taiwan there. Obviously, the Philippines have been rocking and rolling here, and no stranger to large earthquakes. They definitely get some big earthquakes out here. Here's the last 30 days. I believe today's event, there was one down south here, 5.3, just off of it, but as far as directly on that subduction zone, the 5-pointer that stirred up today is the largest here in the last 30 days. But we'll definitely keep an eye on that. We shouldn't take that lightly, because this is definitely capable of producing some big earthquake activity. Same for the Nankai Trough up here as well. That's a major subduction zone here along the southern coast of the Japan area. That's we got a 2.8 there back behind it. It looks like it's going to be this one right here. What is that? Another 3.4 coming into that area of the Manila Trench. You guys see that? 3.4 right there. So just watch that closely. A 9.2 on that would be quite damaging. It would definitely produce a super big tsunami as well across that area. There's a 6-pointer in the Japan region this morning. As far as any aftershock activity from that, I don't see any. There was one earthquake up here prior to that, just a little bit further up the road. Still along the Japan Trench. I'm really not too concerned with this producing a megaquake, because we just had one back in 2011. But occasionally we'll see some 5s and 6s and whatnot. But again, megaquake potential out here, I don't think it's likely, considering the short amount of time that has passed. Now, the Kamchatka obviously is capable of producing some big earthquake activity. It does look like we've seen another event here earlier this evening, further up the line from the one that was a little suspicious here this morning. That 4.6 was in the kind of a middle point boundary between that 6-pointer and also all the aftershock activity up here in the Kamchatka area recently. I am watching this area specifically right about here down to the Japan Trench because they've had lots of 6s, lots of 7s over the years, and even a couple low-grade 8s. But it would technically take, I believe, about 32 8-pointers to relieve the strain of a 9-pointer out here. And we haven't seen that. So this area specifically down here to where the rupture from the 8.8 back in July here of this year, it was a 500-kilometer long length. I believe it was roughly around here or so. So this region southward to the Japan Trench, definitely of concern here in terms of maybe some larger activity soon. Just got to be on guard. But look at this here. That's, man, right on that subduction zone. Pretty crazy. Get a little nervous there when you see activity directly on a fault system that could very well be overdue here for some large activity. The Alaska area, a couple smaller quakes up there. Actually, it looks like the majority of those are microquake. Only a couple there from this morning above the 2.5 level. Nothing big going on up there across the Alaska area for now. Number of earthquakes there across Washington. Let's go check out the tremor map here this evening. Cascadia slow slip events shows us that, quite elevated still. Mainly up here at the northern end, 557 epicenters of tremor. That brings up the total tally here for the week. Pretty steady, look at that. Just been a steady amount of slow slip events there. 2,491 epicenters. Again, mainly underneath this area of Washington and towards the southern end of the Vancouver Island ranges. Only a little bit down here across the southern coast here of Oregon. And it's been actually pretty quiet down here across Northern California as well. It seems like when the slow slip events occur down here, that's when we see elevated activity upstream, stressing the entire area. But things are calm in terms of slow slip events down here and no earthquake activity. One earthquake outside of the Portland area this afternoon, Portland, Oregon, about 13 miles deep underneath this area. Nothing big going on there for now, but we are starting to notice, a handful of earthquakes out there where the tremor activity is occurring. Sometimes these slow slip events there can trigger earthquakes at the surface. It could be deeper. They could be up around the subduction zone. All I know is it does add further strain out here when we're getting that slow slip event activity there. That's associated with the Cascadia subduction zone. Real quick glance here at the Mount Rainier seismograph station there in Washington. See if there's anything of noteworthy value. Still some earthquake activity out there. I'm telling you, those are definitely earthquakes. Nothing big. I don't see any increasing movement. Real quick glance here at Mount St. Helens as well, where they've had a number of earthquakes themselves. Yeah. That's Mount St. Helens here up at the summit area, the dome. Those are earthquakes. Those are indeed earthquakes. Starting to kick up there across Mount St. Helens, it looks like. There was a couple over here this morning away from this region, but nothing. Zip, zero, nada being reported out here for this earthquake activity. And more than likely, it probably won't be until Monday morning. Now, see these events right here? Those are a bunch of earthquakes as well, but the amplitude got turned down here because of maybe some of these other readings. If you go to the next day, you can see the lines more prominently. They're thicker. Therefore, you can see those little dots that were on the previous one much larger. So there's definitely some earthquake activity out there. Looks like a swarm around Mount St. Helens. Those are all equal, I believe, to the sizes that we've seen there just on the previous page. But again, the amplitude squashed a little bit here. But those are still all earthquakes out there. Pretty crazy. A lot going on there across the Cascade volcanoes right now. Nothing in terms of any imminent eruption, just some earthquake swarming going on. Northern California, let's see what we got up here. That's it's up in the Sierra Nevada mountains there, a little 2.1 this morning. Nothing big. A couple more earthquakes here around Pacifica this afternoon. Got looks like 5 recorded earthquakes. That brings up the total tally here about 14 or so in this area. 25 if we go back the last 30 days. So a little bit of specific earthquake activity occurring there. That it's off of the San Andreas Fault there. I believe there's a fault system here, or a branch that branches off of here. I can't remember. It may just be a branch there of the San Andreas Fault, but it's definitely got some swarming going on there for sure. Further activity today. Nothing big, but it's a sign there we need to watch things out here across the Bay Area. The Hayward Fault is well primed for some big earthquake activity. One off of that earlier this morning for a 1.3. There's been a handful of swarms out here as well in the last 30 days. If we go back and look here, had a swarm up north here outside of the Berkeley area, some further down south. So it was a fairly active month there along the Hayward Fault. Nothing big going on there for now, but I guarantee you that's not always going to be the case there when it comes to quietness. Let's see here. Parkfield section, pretty quiet for now. We did have a handful of smaller quakes there stop at the creeping section and the San Andreas Fault section. This is the locked area down here. This is a creeping portion. Kind of creeps along, and it doesn't really accumulate a lot of slip here. It just kind of slips itself here without building up a whole lot of strain. But down here across the Parkfield section, obviously that's locked and fairly well primed for some big earthquake activity. Not as big as what the southern branch here is capable of, and will probably happen, I'm thinking, sooner than later. It's just the amount of time that has passed out here is crazy, and the regular intervals were beyond that in terms of that time frame out here for the San Andreas Fault. Some further activity out in Nevada. Nothing up north here where that swarm was occurring, but yeah, just a little quiet. Yellowstone National Park, a couple earthquakes there this morning out in the Montana and Idaho area. Looks like it's around the border out there. As far as any earthquake activity goes at Yellowstone, let's just double check since it is the weekend here. There could be a swarm going on and no one reporting on it. So let's see if these guys are working here today. Hopefully it's working. There we go. Looks a little choppy here. There's those two earthquakes this morning in the Idaho area. Really nothing new to report. Really no earthquake activity. There's a 6.1 that was there in the Japan area this morning. That would match that time period for this earthquake right here. Well, 6-pointer. Close enough, 6.1, 6.0. But yeah, it shows up on the seismograph stations thousands of miles away. But just goes to show you that that system up there is working properly, and but there's nothing big going on there locally at Yellowstone. Pretty quiet there. Oil fields of Texas still rocking and rolling. I mean, that's just very common out there. Nothing really new to report. Well, there's a little earthquake up here in upper state New York area. Looks like maybe two earthquakes near the Adams Center New York area. 1.5 and a 1.6 within a couple minutes, or a couple minutes of each other. That sits outside of some hazard zones here. Historically, these have seen some large events. And this is the hazard map here from the USGS, just kind of showing these areas across the states. But that earthquake activity this morning striking outside of that zone. Let's see, things definitely picking up here across the Caribbean area. The Puerto Rico Trench here showing quite a bit of activity. That makes sense here because for the most part, I was trying to get this earthquake over here. This was a 5.5 out here in the fracture boundary. Normally when we see earthquake activity out here, that amplifies the conditions here across the Middle American Trench, which pretty much puts a squeeze out here on the Caribbean plate. And it's definitely showing here since that earthquake this morning. Quite a bit of uptick going on. Number 4 is out there around Panama, or one of them around Panama. The other one up around the Costa Rica area. A handful of earthquakes up here in the 3 range as well around the Puerto Rico Trench and the Puerto Rico region. Just keep an eye on it. Definitely that's another area that's very capable of producing some big earthquakes. Almost looks like there's 2 5-pointers on there now. Huh. All right, let's see here. Some newer activity up along the Aleutian Trench. It looks like a 4-pointer stirring up, fairly recent. New Zealand got a handful of earthquakes out there as well. Watching the plate boundary out there. Nothing big going on there for now. Let's see what else we have. The Mediterranean region, some 2s and 3s. Nothing big happening. Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Down there in South America, there's some newer activity up here off the coast of Peru. There's a 5 or 4.2, and a bunch of clustering going on here across the Peru-Chile Trench. That's pretty common though for that region, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. Definitely seen some earthquake activity out here today. Again, I would watch this area around the Manila region, the Manila Trench, excuse me, and the Nankai Trough up here. This is kind of the center portion here of well, a lot of activity that's been happening north and south here recently. Just watch it. Looks like it's starting to fill in a little bit. Space weather activity here on this Saturday night. Still got some C-flare activity. Nothing big going on. Got a 60% chance here for some M-flare. X-flare around 15% chance. Taking a look here at the magnetogram image. Sunspots are scooting along there towards the western limb. Really not all that impressed with them. When was this put out? This is somewhat recent. This area back over here still looks fairly complex. It's 4236. I do think that's about the only area here that is likely to produce maybe some stronger flaring. Everything else here looks fairly stable. Far as the far side of the sun, we'll check that out here real quick. This is this is recent. Well, it's about a day behind because technically it's the 5th of October UTC time. Earth facing side here. Here's the eastern limb. We do have this one sunspot peeking around. Well, excuse me. No, that's heading off to the western limb here. It's been a crazy weekend so far. We still got one more day. So this is the western limb here. This is the eastern limb, right? These sunspots here moving off in this direction. This is the earth-facing side. This is the western limb. It's kind of confusing here on the flat scale model Earth, but this is definitely the far side. There's a fairly decent sunspot area out there, center disk on the far side. We'll see this here, down the road here in a few days. That's about the only one I see really of any major size, but we'll definitely keep an eye on that here and check back on it as it gets a little bit closer to the time it comes around the eastern limb there. No major severe weather threats out there for now, folks. Just some general thunderstorm activity out there. I'm trying to keep my voice here. Missy Mimi's is sick, and I think the kids are getting a cold or something too. I'm trying my best to not get it, but this morning my voice was really itchy. I feel a little bit better now because it took some medicine, stuff like that to help me out, but I'm trying my best to keep my voice in tune here. All right, so looking at the weather models here, got some more rain out there across the Pacific Northwest. It does look like there's some more tropical moisture as well coming in from a tropical system that's going to head into the desert southwest and the Four Corners area. I don't see anything of any hurricane activity for the Atlantic or the Gulf. Just an odd year for hurricane activity out there. I mean, I don't think anyone's complaining out there, right? Keeping those systems away from land is a good thing. So obviously we're going to start mixing the patterns up here a little bit more because we're going to be heading into winter pretty soon. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for some much cooler temperatures. It's been pretty nice out here in Northern California here last couple days. And technically we really haven't had that all that hot of a summer, at least here where I'm at. And yeah, we get some 100-degree days, 105 or so, but nothing like we had in the past years. Sometimes we get up 115 just outside of Chico here. Redding up there gets pretty hot as well. All right, yeah, watch this area down here. Watch the Manila Trench. Man, definitely got that earthquake on it today. That's a fairly recent one as well. Seismograph stations out there look pretty quiet. Not a whole lot showing up on any of these right now, but just be on guard. Have a good one. Enjoy your Saturday night, Sunday morning out there for a few already. Take care, and we'll definitely see you guys out here after a little bit of sleep for the Sunday morning update. Have a good one, everyone. Stay safe. What's interesting, my hotkey's not working. Let's try that again.